One of the hardest things for new traders to understand is that good trades can lose you money. Bad trades can make you money. If you're operating within a system and not just acting randomly and throwing darts at the wall, then you're operating within a range of probabilities. Okay, because we can never operate with certainty. We never know something's going to happen. We can feel like we know something's going to happen, but at the end of the day, anything can happen, right? So you have to always act and think in bets and probabilities. Okay, this setup gives me an 80% win rate, which means out of 100 trades, I lose 20. So I have to size my trades in a way that I can take 100 trades, take 1,000 trades, 10,000 trades, and let those probabilities play out in my favor. Because if I only take 5 and I lose 4, but I know from my data set, this should have an 80% win rate. First of all, am I executing them correctly? And did I take it enough times to let that play out in my favor, right? But if you aren't operating within a system and you're just focused on outcomes, did I make money? Did I lose money? Then you're never going to improve. Then you aren't trading. You're just randomly gambling. Okay, that's a huge distinct difference. You have to act with intention. Okay, so let's talk about a trade that I think was a good trade that lost me money, and we'll talk about why I think it's a good trade. Okay, and that was attempting a short on silver. Uh, so first of all, take note, silver, as you've all probably realized, is absolutely parabolic. And about the last 6 months alone, this has done about 260%. At the point where I started looking for shorts was around here. It was really around like 200%. I started looking for signs of weakness as we got to 100 big target. I thought, we'll go after we break 100, I'm going to look for some sort of blow off top. Well, after this absolutely parabolic run, we then get this massive gap up day. Okay, so in the overnight, silver gapped up about 15%, right? So before we zoom in, take note of the RSI here, which is this data. RSI is hitting lower highs while the stock hits higher highs. And that kind of tells me that the underlying momentum here is starting to die down. The strength of this rally is starting to die down. Okay, and so we see this euphoric kind of peak that gives up most of the move. Okay, this is classic blow off top behavior, right? Timing tops and parabolic runs is extremely difficult, but we do see this behavior where you get that insane gap, and then after going up 15% on the day, you dump 14%. You break the previous days, you give up the entire pre-market, break the pre-market structure, and give up the previous day's highs into the close. Now, in the after hours, you started to reclaim, but let's pretend like we can't see this, right? Let's just focus on this, on what that looked like on the day, okay? This is what I'm interested in right here. So we see this give up, completely break the EMA. In my opinion, that's a decent probability for a short. It didn't work. The next day gave me an exit, but it ended up defending this EMA all day. And so I ended up getting out around break even, actually, because premiums on silver SLV puts have been really strong. I even attempted it today and was forced out again. And once again, no real losses. Premiums are holding up really well on this name. But we broke that all-time high. It looks like we were going to break that all-time high after holding the support. I want to see this either make a rounded top, or I want to see some sort of rug through the support now before I attempt this again. But the reason why I like this is that classic blow off top. Okay, you're at the peak of a massive parabolic run, a historic run. You then we could really visualize that on the monthly. We can see that silver historically. And I know there's a bunch of fundamental narratives, blah, 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 but narrative follows price, not the other way around. So don't get that confused, okay? I can't get too caught up in, all the euphoria with stuff like this. You just can't. You got to, price leads the way. The narrative follows. So I see this blow up top. I think it's a classic short entry. And we can look at, Discord members will know these type of setups really well. There was quite literally the same exact setup on Oklo. Big breakout candle ends up giving up the full move into the close and then proceeds to melt down. We got this beautiful short, very beautiful short. I believe we caught something similar even on a recent MU high. Big up candle that then comes short. Now this thing's recovered and silver might end up looking something similar to this after we take our short. But you get this big gap up candle, gives up most of the move. Take a beautiful short there, and again, I'm looking for that huge gap up that loses most of the move on the day after the parabolic run, okay? Because what that looks like, what that feels like is like, a peak euphoria moment where everyone is piling in at the all-time high, right? Most people don't make money. Most people buy all-time highs, and they don't buy dips because they just follow crowds because they operate like sheep. And that's why most people don't make money. Nvidia did the same thing, but with a beautiful double top on the short that we took as well. I mean, just a beautiful double top on this one, right? And you can hunt around. This setup is a really good setup, and you're going to see it all the time at many, many, many major highs. And this time it didn't work. It stopped me out. No, I got lucky because honestly, it didn't take a big beating for it. I thought I was, at 2 a.m. when I checked on what silver was doing, it had gapped up like this. I thought I was gonna take a big beating, but it gave up most of the move. And then when I saw signs of a recovery on the intraday price action, I got out. Tried even again today, and I'll still be looking for it, but now I'm going to be a little more patient after the 2 failures on it. I don't want to force it. I want ample confirmation for another attempt, even though premiums have been very forgiving because IV's been really pumped into this one. So that's it. I just wanted to do a little trade review on a setup that I really liked and didn't work. And I think it's really important. What you need to take away from this is not just the strategy, but also think in processes, not in outcomes, because good ideas can lose you money and bad ideas can make you money. So if you are making a system, or a playbook of trade ideas you like, make sure you're not just basing it on, did I make money or did I lose money? Make sure your process is good, whether that's through like back testing of market data, or whether that's through forward testing of different outcomes or whatever. If you're a quant and you're getting super fancy with it, or at least through, your own data, your own trading data, go back through your brokerage statements, go look at your old trades, then go map them out. Which ones worked? Is there a pattern that fits my own personality? Okay. So, yeah, go subscribe to my free newsletter. That's all I got. God bless. Godspeed.